The Room on the Third Floor by Joshua Agbor. It was just another dull and cold, rainy day in Ireland. I walked with my cousin Vanessa. I looked down at my red and black striped watch and noticed that it had stopped ticking. I looked across at Vanessa. She was shivering. Serves her right, I thought. I told her twice when we were at the bus stop this morning to run back home and bring a scarf, but she said, "It's okay, I won't be cold." Yet here she is, freezing her head off because she doesn't listen. I reached into my brown Converse school bag and searched around until I found my scarf. I gave it to Vanessa. Vanessa is 14, like me. She is small and skinny with dark brown hair and big blue eyes. Vanessa and I are very close. We walk to my house. The house is one of the easiest to spot because it constantly has a big variety of colourful flowers peeping out from flower boxes. In the house, we took off our shoes, threw down our bags, jumped in front of the gas-powered heater and sat in front of the TV. I heard my mother yelling my name from upstairs. I went up to my mum's room. Sitting sipping tea with my mum was my Auntie Annette, my mum's sister, and Vanessa's mum. She said we had big news, and they both started smiling. Little did I know that the news would put myself and Vanessa's life at risk. We were going for 2 weeks to stay with my Auntie Sarah and Uncle John. My blood ran cold. Ever since Vanessa and I were young, we never liked going to their house. Auntie Sarah was strange, and Uncle John was even stranger. They live in a quiet village located deep in the Galway countryside. My mum told us that she and Auntie Annette were going to England for 2 weeks because my mother won a competition and she was only allowed to bring one person. So while my mum was getting pampered in a 5-star hotel, Vanessa and I were going to be eating Auntie Sarah's bad cooking and putting up with Uncle John's creepiness. Monday came, and Vanessa and I arrived in Galway by bus, where Auntie Sarah collected us in a mud-splattered, engine-gurgling Fiat. She never spoke on the journey to the house, near the wood where a scraggy-looking sheepdog met us and tried to bark, but couldn't. "Get into the house quick, and don't let the flies in," Auntie Sarah said, and Vanessa and I hurried in, and she hurried in quickly after us and bolted the door. Auntie Sarah took us to our rooms on the second floor. Then just before she turned to go back down, she said, "Don't go upstairs. Uncle John doesn't like anyone going up to the 3rd floor. It's his private part of the house." She flashed us a quick smile and walked away. I looked at Vanessa. She had a worried look. She went into her room and I went into mine. I sat on the musty, old-fashioned eider-down on the narrow bed. I decided I'd call my mum. I rang. No answer. I guess she was by now on the plane to London. I looked out the window. It was getting dark. I was getting hungry. I decided to go downstairs and see if I could get a bite to eat. Halfway down the stairs, I heard Auntie Sarah and Uncle John talking down below, so I decided to listen. It was kind of hard to hear over the sound of a kettle boiling, but I managed to hear little bits. Auntie Sarah was saying something about Vanessa and me and something about the 3rd floor. I decided to move a little bit closer so I could hear better, but I tripped on my untied shoelace and went tumbling. Auntie Sarah and Uncle John came running out from the kitchen, and when I got to my feet, Uncle John's grey eyes burrowed into me. "Try walking down the stairs next time," he grunted. "Okay, sorry," I said. "Would you mind getting your cousin? Dinner is almost ready," Auntie Sarah said. "No problem," I said as I hurried back upstairs. In her room, Vanessa was sitting in a chair with her iPhone on her lap. I told her what I had heard before I fell down the stairs. She wasn't too concerned. "Let's eat first and talk after. I'm starving," she said. She's always hungry. We all sat down at the dinner table and ate. After the most awkward dinner of my life, I went to my room, got into my pyjamas and crawled into bed. I heard Uncle John's heavy footsteps walking up the wooden stairs past my door and up to the 3rd floor. I heard him open a door and heard him close it behind him. I got quickly out of bed, pulled on my slippers, and slipped out of my room. I walked quietly up the stairs. There appeared to be only one room on this floor. I put my ear against the door. Inside, Uncle John was talking. Sounded like he was talking to someone. It can't be Auntie Sarah, because she must be downstairs in their bedroom on the 1st floor. Is it possible that there is someone else in the house? Uncle John went on talking to this other person. The response of this other person was very muffled. It was as if the person had their mouth tied. Uncle John started walking back towards the door. There wasn't enough time to run back downstairs, so I hid behind a big old wardrobe at the top of the stairs. Uncle John came out of the room, closed the door, and walked down the stairs. I waited until I heard him open and close the door of his and Auntie Sarah's room way down below. Then I crept back down to my own room. It took me an age to get to sleep. The question in my mind was, what is going on in that room on the 3rd floor? Next day, Auntie Sarah and Uncle John took us into town in the car. They went shopping for fresh fish, and Vanessa and I went buying postcards. Vanessa told me that she had heard sounds from the room above during the night, and she had got out of bed and tiptoed upstairs to see what was making the noise. She had listened outside the room on the 3rd floor, and she heard a faint voice inside calling out, "Help! Help!" But she was too frightened to do anything, so she ran back downstairs to her own room. That night, Vanessa and I decided to go up to the room and investigate. I heard Uncle John come back downstairs and continue on down to Auntie Sarah on the 1st floor. I tapped 3 times on Vanessa's door, and she came out promptly. We started quietly climbing the stairs. We arrived at the door. I tried the handle. It turned easily. The door creaked open. The smell that hit us was awful. I clicked on the flashlight. The room was very small, with only a narrow single bed covered with a grey blanket. Then we heard it, a low whisper saying, "Help! Help!" Vanessa turned to me. "Was that you?" she whispered. "No," I whispered back. I shone my flashlight around until stopping at a very small red button in the wall just inside the door. I pressed the small red button. The wall on the right side of the room turned around. I shone the torch there and lit upon a small boy with scruffy clothes and dirty blonde hair tied to a chair. He had tape over his mouth. Vanessa ran to him, and then she loosened the rope knots and untied him and gently took the tape away. "Thank you. Now you've got to get out of here. He'll be coming back up for you," the boy blurted out. But too late. At that moment the door burst open, and Uncle John was standing there with a large butcher's knife in his hand. "Now, Paul, why did you have to go and ruin the surprise?" he said coldly. He had a creepy, twisted, crazy look on his face. He advanced on Vanessa. The boy grabbed the chair and hurled it, hitting Uncle John across the head. Uncle John fell stunned alongside his knife. "What's going on here?" I said. The boy looked at me and said, "If you want to live, let's go." The 3 of us ran downstairs and into the kitchen. The boy grabbed the car keys that were hanging on a hook. We ran out of the house, and the boy said to get in the car. Vanessa and me looked at each other. Before we could ask any questions, a dagger whizzed by my face and clattered along the car bonnet. I looked back and saw Uncle John getting ready to throw another one, and Auntie Sarah beside him, holding a shotgun and aiming at us. My life flashed before my eyes. The boy quickly pulled a small toothbrush from his back pocket and quickly threw it at Auntie Sarah. It got her in the left eye, and she let go of the shotgun and it fell to the ground. The boy ran and picked it up and aimed it at Uncle John, who was about to lunge with another dagger, but he backed away. The boy yelled at Vanessa and me to get in the car. We did that, and the boy handed me the shotgun, then jumped into the driver's seat and fired the engine, and in seconds we were driving down the road. "The name is Paul," the boy said. "Hello, Paul," I replied. "Do you think you could tell me what the heck is going on?" Paul shook his head and then said, "Your uncle, he steals children and then murders them." Vanessa gasped. "He stole me 9 years ago from my family, and he has been keeping me in the room on the 3rd floor ever since. He was going to murder you guys tonight, but you guys got lucky. His wife is his assistant." The car came speeding up behind us. I looked out the back window. It was a small car, but in the front seats were Uncle John and Auntie Sarah. "It's them!" I shouted. "Quick," Paul said. "Open the window and shoot out their tires." I was trembling as I opened the back window and aimed. The shot burst their front left tire. Uncle John's small car went spinning out of control, skidding off the road and crashed into a tree. We kept going until we made it into town. It was almost 3 a.m. We found the police station and stopped the car. Vanessa jumped out. She rang the doorbell. She waited. We waited. There was a pistol shot, and Vanessa fell to the ground, screaming in pain and clutching her right leg. I looked around. I couldn't see anyone. Paul and I got out to help, but as we did, there was another shot, and Paul fell to the ground, grabbing at his arm. Out of nowhere, Uncle John and Auntie Sarah appeared. Uncle John had a rifle. "I told you not to go up to the 3rd floor, didn't I?" Auntie Sarah roared. My hands were sweaty, and I couldn't breathe properly. "We're going to give you one last chance. If you kill this pathetic boy and your cousin Vanessa right now, I will spare your life. But if you choose not to, I will kill all 3 of you right here and now," Auntie Sarah shouted. I shook my head. "Sorry, Auntie Sarah," I said. "He's stupider than he looks. Shoot him." Then Uncle John aimed and shot me in the right leg. "Change your mind yet?" he asked. "No," I replied, and he shot me in the other leg. Vanessa's crying got even louder. "Finish her off first." Uncle John handed the gun to Auntie Sarah. "Gladly," she replied. She put fresh bullets in the gun and pointed it at Vanessa. I could feel my blood trickling down my shins. Auntie Sarah was standing over Vanessa and aiming at her head. I couldn't move to stop her. I closed my eyes so I could try and think of something nice. I heard 2 gunshots. I slowly opened my eyes and saw Uncle John and Auntie Sarah on the ground, and standing beside them were 2 police officers with guns. It was then I fainted. When I woke, I was in a hospital bed. I looked to my left and saw Paul staring at me. "Finally, you're awake," he said, smiling. I looked to my right, and there was Vanessa. She smiled at me, and I went back to sleep.